Stone Cold, the Hellraiser is back!
Here we go! Evolution of the Shield!
John Cena versus the Showstopper!
Hulk Hogan and The Rock in the same ring!
You will never take my place at the head of the table!
Undertaker! On the Hell's Gate submission! Oh my God! What?
My God, Michaels! Just kick Cena's head off!
The Monday Night Wars have come to WrestleMania!
It'll be The Rock! It'll be Austin one-on-one!
Third and five to the Undertaker!
Do you believe in miracles?
The streak is over!
Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Retro on the WWE podcast on this Friday, June 2nd, as we are 5 days or 6 days post Clash of Champions, rather, and I gotta tell you, I am super excited for SmackDown tonight, not only to see the reaction and the fallout from the Usos, Jimmy Uso specifically, turning on Roman Reigns in the main event of Clash of Champions, but also to see the newly unveiled WWE Universal Championship that is set to be unveiled tonight as one singular title, if I'm not mistaken, as Roman Reigns starts this new era in a lot of ways, this new portion of his reign now in the 1,000 days, and now seemingly without the full bloodline behind him. But as we look at Roman Reigns and his new era of his championship run, we're going to go back today and look at the beginning of another championship run. A run that was started at SummerSlam 2004. And before we get into that, we're going to try and look at a bit of the setup to this pay-per-view and the lay of the land at that time. You look at Monday Night Raw, and since WrestleMania 20, 6 months prior, or about 5 months prior, you had Chris Benoit as the World Heavyweight Champion. He had successfully defended it against Triple H and Shawn Michaels at the Backlash pay-per-view in an exact rematch from their WrestleMania main event. You had him successfully defend it against Kane at Bad Blood, and this was still into Kane's heel version of himself, the unmasked version of Kane. And on the SmackDown side of things, you had JBL about 2 months into his run as the WWE champion. You had Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle rekindling their rivalry that started all the way back in the winter of 2004. And you had The Undertaker, who had only been returned to the WWE in his dead man gimmick of himself for about 5 months since WrestleMania 20. And the summer of 2004, I gotta tell you, it was a very crazy time to be a wrestling fan. And, you look at all the main event talent that they had and what they were doing with it and how more impressive it was given the fact of the guys who were missing. The Rock, long gone at this point as a full-time in-ring competitor. Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't even on TV anymore as the sheriff or the co-GM. Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania 20 had just stepped away and walked away after his first year with the company. Brock Lesnar, the next big thing, the guy that many people thought that the company would be structured around for this foreseeable future, had walked away from the company following WrestleMania 20 as well. So it ended up being left on the shoulders of a lot of the guys who we may have not have thought were ready for that main event or who would have ever been ready for that main event, in the likes of Chris Benoit and in the likes of Eddie Guerrero. And who would have known or who would have thought of John Bradshaw Layfield winning the WWE Championship after being pretty much a career tag team competitor. So the first match of the night, in my opinion, was kind of showing off what kind of depth the roster had, because The depth of the WWE, in my opinion, at this point in time, is what carried it. Because at times the star power got a bit boring, or stale, I should say. Boring is not the right word. Got a bit stale because of just how often the same guys were in the main event scene. But it was the depth. There was the IC championship scene. It was the United States championship scene that really kept things interesting here. And before we get into the card, let's set up the main event. As the main event of the night was Chris Benoit defending his World Heavyweight Championship against a man who was facing off for a world title for the first time after becoming the number one contender via a battle royal on Monday Night Raw. So very important note there. Randy Orton, still a member of Evolution at this time, will face off against the World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam. But later on that night, on Monday Night Raw in late July, there was a Iron Man match between Triple H and Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I remember that match. It was a hell of a match. I remember they went 3 for 3. And Chris Benoit ends up coming away retaining the World Heavyweight Championship with the help of Eugene. So you remember that. The whole Eugene feud with Evolution and how maybe controversial that character was back then and would certainly be in today's climate. And just it's crazy to think that they went as far as they did with the Eugene character. So this would set up for Randy Orton against Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of SummerSlam 2004. So we start things off in a singles match on the SmackDown side of things. Rob Van Dam defeats Rene Dupree in 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Then sticking on the SmackDown side of things, you have the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike defeat Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, and Paul London in 8 minutes. And crazy to think how far Rey Mysterio has come, from losing one of the opening matches to the Dudley Boys at SummerSlam. And this was near the end of the road for the Dudley Boys during their time with WWE. They would quickly leave the company and move on to TNA Impact Wrestling. But this was actually a good gimmick for the Dudley Boys. This is when Spike had the boss gimmick, where he all of a sudden was in charge of the Dudley Boys. I actually kind of liked it. He was the Cruiserweight champion, and he held that championship all the way until, I want to say it was December of that year. Was it Armageddon? I think he lost it to Funaki. But I really like this gimmick for the Dudley Boys, and most specifically Spike. Then we get Kane defeating Matt Hardy in 6 minutes and 8 seconds in a till death do us part match, as this was the storyline where Kane had impregnated Lita, and basically whoever would win this match would marry Lita, and Kane would come away with this. And the following night on Raw, Matt would try and break it up, and Kane would chokeslam him like through the stage, and he would end up marrying Lita. And, you know, you fast forward a year, and we go from Kane and Matt Hardy fighting over Lita in storyline to Matt Hardy and Edge fighting over Lita in real life, and then into storyline. So this story with Matt Hardy and Lita, and first Kane and then Edge, and Kane and Edge fought over her at the beginning a bit as well. It was very intricate and something that strung on for quite a long time. Then we get into, in my opinion, the good stuff here. And I love the fact what they did here between John Cena and Booker T. And it was a singles match, and it was a tournament for the United States Championship. Well, it wasn't a tournament. That's not the way I should say it. It was a best-of-5 match. And Booker T was the U.S. champion at this point in time. And obviously, John Cena had won the U.S. title for the first time at WrestleMania 20, dropped it along the way. And this was an opportunity for them to really legitimize John Cena against a veteran like Booker T. And putting Booker T in the United States Championship picture, a belt that he held a lot in his WCW days, I thought did a lot for John Cena here. This was one of his more important feuds early on in his career. He had only been a babyface for about 10 months at this point, and obviously he wins the title against the Big Show early on, well, not early on, at WrestleMania, and holds it into the summer. And Booker T coming over from Monday Night Raw in the 2004 draft, something we covered last week, was a big get for SmackDown. And in the first match of their best of 5, I really thought that John Cena and Booker T put on a hell of a match, and the outcome certainly had people intrigued.
The first man to his feet here will both get the momentum. Booker T trying to get there, John Cena as well. Both men getting up at the same time. John Cena pumps the right hand, and here's the right hand from John Cena. Another right from the former United States champion who had that title stripped from him. There's another right hand by Cena. Booker T reverses Cena, whipped into the corner, and a boot to the face. A lot of boot to the face. And a clothesline. Actually, it's a sneaker and a pump to the face. And look at Booker T whipped across the ring. John Cena with a high elbow. John Cena is on a roll. He's hooking up. Face first. I guess I spoke too soon. The veteran Booker T taking advantage of there. You go. A little spinneroonie action there. I like the confidence of Booker T now, building up big. And what's your man up? Look at that. Booker T. You tapped him. And a few. 1, 2, 3. Match time. John Cena doing big business right there. Getting the win in his first, the best of 5 series. That was impressive, man. John Cena now 2 wins away from the United States Championship. And Booker T seemed hell-bent on beating John Cena down, sending John Cena a message, and Cena took advantage at the end of that matchup. I don't know how John Cena survived the assault, the aggressive style of Booker T, but he did.
So John Cena wins the first match of the best of 5 series. Booker T, the United States heel champion, really trying to present an obstacle for John Cena early on in his career, something that every young up-and-comer, especially a babyface, needs. And the other part about this pay-per-view is that you look at John Cena where he was as, you know, challenging for that United States Championship. And you look at Randy Orton, who was set to challenge for the World Heavyweight title. SmackDown seeing John Cena featured on their show. Raw having Randy Orton featured on their show. So you never really saw these two up-and-comers cross paths. And the beauty of the brand split was at these pay-per-views, the Big Four, the brand neutral pay-per-views, where Raw and SmackDown competitors were competing. And aside from that, they would never cross paths. At these events, it would feel special when a John Cena and a Randy Orton would cross paths, because it never happened on weekly television or at regular pay-per-views like an Unforgiven or a No Mercy or an Armageddon or a Backlash. But at this pay-per-view, we got to see 2 of the up-and-comers and 2 guys that would prove to be the faces of the following generation in professional wrestling cross paths for one of the first times on television.
We are all shocked at what just happened. Kane beating Matt Hardy, and Lita has got to be upset. Now she has...
Todd, why would anyone be upset? Okay? Tonight is a night for celebration. SummerSlam 2004 is going to go down in history, okay? Because one of the most talented, one of the youngest, most charismatic, and best looking WWE superstars is going to ascend to greatness tonight. Tonight will be
The night that the franchise opened up shop on Booker T's ass. And we doing big business right here in Toronto. Thanks for the introduction, bro. You just called me the youngest, the best looking, most charismatic superstar in the WWE. Hey, Randy Jr., see to it he gets some wristbands, a visor. We're going to get you some merch. It's going to look nice. But I'm a fan of yours, too. And I know you got fans out there. We're going to see how many fans you got out there. Hey, yo, T-Dot, can you hear me? Do y'all like Randy Orton? Ooh, that's so good. I'm going to try another one. Hey, yo, T-Dot, tonight, is Randy Orton going to beat Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship? Well, at least you got the people behind it.
Well, Randy, I think the crowd has spoken. They don't think that...
Todd, I don't care what a bunch of ass-backwards Canadians think, and I sure as hell don't care what John Cena has to say. Quite frankly, I find it rather pathetic that Cena had to interrupt my interview to get a little bit of airtime. Because there is nothing more important than Randy Orton, okay? Now tonight, not only am I going to beat Chris Benoit, but I'm going to make history. I'm going to leave the Air Canada Centre the youngest World Heavyweight Champion ever.
It's just so crazy, 19 years ago. That's when this pay-per-view was, 19 years ago, and you see two of the bigger up-and-coming stars in the company, one representing Raw, one representing SmackDown, rarely crossing paths because of how enforced the brand split was. And, it's just crazy to think about that over the following decade and a half, those two would literally become the faces and cornerstones of the entire company. Forget the brands that they were exclusive to at this point in time, but the entire company, the rivalry they had. How many Randy Orton and John Cena matches had we seen over the years? And one of the first times we saw them interact, as both of them were really trying to become up-and-coming stars. So we see John Cena win the first match of the U.S. Championship Best of 5 in just over 6 minutes. Then we have Edge defend his Intercontinental Championship against Batista and Chris Jericho. That went 8.5 minutes. And I gotta say, I love the placement of the U.S. title and the Intercontinental Championship on this card. I really do believe that this is how you elevate your championships. And, in my mind, if you want to have your titles feel important, this is the only way to do it. You have to place them strongly on pay-per-views and now on premium line events. And I think what Triple H has done amazingly over the last 12 months is just that, making the IC Championship and the US Championship feel important. And again, the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam 2004 was a hell of a match leading into the two main events.
debuts or victory excellent, you could say, here in his hometown to successfully retain the Intercontinental title against two of the very best overall. Yeah, look at that look on that young man's face. He wasn't here tonight to win any popularity contest there. He was here to lead the Intercontinental Champion. Jericho eliminated Batista with a springboard. Batista didn't see that coming, but Jericho didn't see that spear coming from Edge.
So Edge retains his Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, soon after this is when he would turn heel and not get right into the Rated R Superstar gimmick, but he would be well on his way to that. But something else that was important here is Batista. This was one of the more prominent matches that Batista was featured in as a singles competitor to this point in time. He had always been tagging with Ric Flair, or acting as the heavy to Triple H in Evolution, or tagging alongside Randy Orton in a 6-tag match. So it was cool to see that Batista got his shot in a prominent match, even if he didn't come out with the victory. And at this point, he had never even held a singles championship, let alone a world championship. But very good that he didn't take the pin, and they were clearly fast-tracking Batista to become, one of the better or more prominent guys, as he would have one of the more unexpected and organic pushes ever just 4 months down the line here. Like, you saw that John Cena and Randy Orton were the guys that they were looking to the future with, specifically given their age. They were in their early mid-20s. Batista was already older than Triple H. But I do think that it was really cool to see how fast Batista exploded as a main eventer and beloved by fans, and got so over with fans organically, starting out as, almost kind of like a third wheel in the Intercontinental Championship match to, 7 months down the line becoming a contender to the World Heavyweight Championship. So now we move on to the SmackDown's main event of JBL with his first real significant championship defense. Or actually, no, we actually had a few more matches to get to that. Sorry, I jumped the gun. So you have Kurt Angle defeating Eddie Guerrero in 13 and a half minutes by submission, continuing their rivalry. And it makes sense that Kurt Angle would get this victory, seeing as how Eddie got the big win at WrestleMania 20. And Kurt Angle was just recently brought back to being a full-time competitor after taking some time off as the SmackDown GM. So Kurt Angle gets back in the saddle, wins the match, and is right back at the top of the card and feuding with Eddie Guerrero in a grudge feud. Triple H defeats Eugene in just over 14 minutes in a singles match. I mean, a real big step down for Triple H, big time here, as this was just kind of like a stepping stone to get him to his next rivalry, which we'll get to in just a couple of moments. But obviously, Triple H and Eugene had to put a bow on their mini program that had lasted over the course of the summer. And obviously, Eugene costing him in the Iron Man match against Chris Benoit. Then we get to JBL defending his WWE Championship against The Undertaker in a singles match that went 17 minutes and 37 seconds. And in classic JBL fashion, he would do so by hook or crook.
From hell, JBL, physical, taking it to the challenger. JBL is just making his mark. Look at this. I might have spoken way too soon here, Cole. The last run out of the corner. Undertaker into the cover, but the referee is still 2, 3. Where's the ref? Undertaker has the championship won. The referees come to. JBL's gonna lose. There's who's gonna lose. JBL just got the shoulder up. What a matchup here at SummerSlam. But off the last run, I thought Undertaker had the title won. Man, what a championship match. I'll tell you, man, it's awesome. Awesome to watch this. JBL in trouble. Oh, look at this. Tombstone, no. The tombstone. Oh, steps. Undertaker. Oh, the hell. Undertaker's lost it. Don't move the limo. What the hell? The long hose came off. And a right hand of JBL. What? With the fist right to the face? Oh. The heavyweight champion has been knocked down. Undertaker taking out his frustration on the champion. I think that's the right way to put it. Who knows? What's the Undertaker got my point? Oh my God. What's this? Oh my God. JBL planted on the hood. His head. His foot went for the windshield and JBL's head is busted open. And now an elbow to the sternum. The windshield shattered. The head is shattered of JBL. This is ugly. This is getting ugly. JBL cut open as his head bounced off the hood of a limo. Well, thank God the Undertaker's leaving it up. Busted open JBL. Undertaker not happy, wanted to leave Toronto. The WWE champion retained the title, but JBL is worse for wear. Oh, I don't like that look. Wait a minute. Oh, poor champion's on hook for call. We didn't like the stuff big. Oh, no. And Undertaker's making his way back down the aisle. Oh, no. Why? What the go? I have no idea. This is... I don't... It's got oh, my God. No! Side slide! Through the roof! A new roof! A new limo! Straight through it! A choke slam by the Undertaker to the champion! Right through JBL's own limousine!
So JBL retains the championship by disqualification, and just like that, he once again retains the title. And I say once again, but this was very early on in his title reign. But it was kind of like a story that we would see told over and over and over again, right until he would eventually lose the championship to John Cena at WrestleMania 21. It was just predominantly the story of JBL's title reign. Now, to the main event, Chris Benoit against Randy Orton. A match that went pretty long, 20 minutes and 8 seconds, the longest of the night. And this was something that I think we don't talk about a lot because it is obviously featuring Chris Benoit, and that's something that WWE does not like to feature. But I will tell you, it was a hell of a match, and the outcome is one of the more memorable finishes, in my opinion, in the history of SummerSlam.
Slip down the cross face. He rolled through it the second time. And, oh my God! RKO out of nowhere! RKO out of nowhere! Orton's got the KO! Oh my God! He's done it! Randy Orton has done it! Destiny Taylor! And new World Heavyweight Champion, Randy Orton! Look at his face! Look at your face! You can't believe it, can you? It's happened! We have a new
And just like that, Randy Orton becomes the youngest World Heavyweight Champion, and it would kind of spell the end of him and Evolution as we know it. Evolution would turn on him the very next night. The following week on Monday Night Raw, he spits in the face of Triple H, and they go off to the races on their initial program. But Randy Orton's initial title reign, due to, behind the scenes immaturity, would only last about 1 month as you drop it at Unforgiven. There was some things we didn't cover at this SummerSlam, like Diva Dodgeball for one thing, as it kind of goes to show what or the state of the women's division at this time. The women's championship was not defended here, and the only featured women on the card were them playing dodgeball in bikini outfits, but obviously there's no reason to break that down. But all in all, I think SummerSlam 2004 was a sign of things to come. Randy Orton becoming the youngest World Heavyweight Champion, John Cena winning a match in the first of a best-of-5 for the U.S. Championship, and Batista in his one of his first big matches showcased as a single star. And you fast forward 6 to 10 months for all of them, and they are all playing prominent roles at WrestleMania 21. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed SummerSlam 2004. As always, you can get me on Twitter at ADeMarco25. You can get Matt on Twitter at Wrestling_audio, or you can email him each and every week for the WWE Podcast Mailbag. Anyway, guys, enjoy your weekend. I will be talking to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.